Ladies and gentlemen, certainly, here's a powerful intro for your motivational speech in the style and tone of Shi Heng Yi, blending his reflective calmness, philosophical insight, and urgent energy, perfectly aligned with the topic. Don't miss this before July 5, 2025, God's final warning. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly. There comes a moment in life when silence speaks louder than sound, when the world around you continues to run faster, louder, and wilder. Yet something within you whispers, "Stop, listen." This is one of those moments. Not by chance, not by coincidence, but by design. We are not here today to simply pass the time. We are here because a message, divine, urgent, uncompromising, has reached you. It does not arrive in chaos. It does not shout, but it carries the weight of consequence. The moment is not tomorrow. It is not someday. The moment is now. Before July 5th, 2025, something must awaken within you, because what lies ahead is not just another date on the calendar. It is a turning point, a calling to rise, not with fear, but with awareness, not with panic, but with preparation. God does not warn without purpose. The universe does not echo without reason. Ask yourself, are you still asleep with your eyes open? Or are you ready to truly see? Do not wait for the storm to recognize the sky is changing. Train your mind like you train your body, with discipline, stillness, and clarity. Be calm like the mountain, but alert like the tiger. Because what I share with you today may be the last whisper before the thunder. Let us begin. Awareness is the first form of protection. What you ignore can destroy you. This is not merely a poetic expression. It is a truth rooted in centuries of wisdom, both spiritual and practical. When you walk through life unaware, it is not just that you are uninformed, it is that you are unguarded. The enemy of progress is not always opposition. It is often ignorance. It's not what is against you that weakens your soul. It's what you refuse to acknowledge that silently erodes your strength. The moment we stop paying attention is the moment we begin to lose control over our direction, over our decisions, and eventually over our destiny. Awareness is not about fear. It is about seeing what is real. Awareness is not about anxiety. It is about clarity. When you know what is around you, when you know what is inside you, you are no longer living by accident. You are living by design. Think of a warrior standing in the middle of a battlefield. If he closes his eyes or ignores the subtle movements in the wind, the slight shift in sound, the tremble of the ground beneath his feet, he exposes himself to danger. Not because he is weak, not because he is incapable, but because he lacks awareness. God's final warning is not wrapped in thunder. It arrives quietly, sometimes in a whisper, sometimes through signs, sometimes through the discomfort in your spirit. But when you ignore those subtle promptings, you trade peace for pain, and the pain doesn't come from the event itself. It comes from the regret of not paying attention when it mattered most. In every tradition, from martial arts to spiritual awakening, awareness is taught as the beginning of mastery. Shi Heng Yi often reminds us that awareness is not something you turn on in crises. It must be trained daily. You sharpen it through mindfulness, through stillness, through discipline. The one who is aware does not need to be warned twice. The one who is aware can recognize danger before it fully forms. The one who is aware sees the path others miss, hears the calling others ignore, and moves in silence while the world sleeps. This is not paranoia. It is sacred perception. It is listening with more than ears, seeing with more than eyes, sensing with more than logic. It is living connected to something deeper than noise and faster than thought. God's warning before July 5th is not just a date on the calendar. It is a divine invitation to sharpen your awareness, to open your spiritual eyes and assess the condition of your thoughts, your heart, your habits. What distractions are you entertaining that are pulling you away from your purpose? What repetitive patterns are you allowing that keep you spiritually asleep? Awareness is not just the detection of the external, it is the confrontation of the internal. There are behaviors within you that you have justified, emotions you have numbed, spiritual truths you have postponed. But time is not pausing to wait for your convenience, and this final warning is not about punishment, it is about preparation. When you stay unaware, you walk unprepared. You think you have time, but you are borrowing time that was never guaranteed. And what you continue to ignore does not disappear, it simply grows stronger in the background, waiting for a moment of weakness to strike. The final warning is not coming to frighten you, but to awaken you. Awareness is how you meet it with strength, not surprise. The most dangerous person is not the one who is angry, it is the one who is unaware. Because they are vulnerable to everything, yet prepared for nothing. In your physical training, you prepare the body. In spiritual training, you prepare the soul. And preparation always begins with awareness. Not reaction, not panic, but intentional observation. What is God trying to show you that you keep overlooking? What decisions are being delayed because you refuse to sit still and listen? What storms are building in your life simply because you have chosen not to look up? God's silence is not absence. It's a test of your inner readiness. When we do not hear the voice we expect, when the answers do not come immediately, when the heavens feel quiet, many interpret this as abandonment. But true spiritual wisdom understands that silence is never empty. It is often the space where transformation begins. In moments of divine stillness, the soul is invited to deepen, to become still, to confront itself without external noise. Silence is not the void, it is the proving ground. It is where your faith is purified, where your motives are exposed, where your preparation is tested. Just as a teacher is silent during the exam, God's silence is not distance, it is observation. It is the divine watching closely to see not just what you will do, but who you have become. Shi Heng Yi often speaks of stillness as a mirror. In stillness, the external fades, and all that remains is the reflection of your internal world. In the same way, when God goes silent, what becomes loud is the true condition of your spirit. Do you panic or do you pray? Do you crumble or do you rise with discipline? Do you retreat into doubt or do you press forward in obedience even without signs? These questions are not theoretical. They are the real measurement of your inner readiness. Anyone can walk when the path is clear, when signs are abundant, when the voice of heaven is loud. But the true test is when nothing moves, when no voice calls, when no doors open. That is when your training shows. That is when your inner structure either holds or collapses. We live in a time where we confuse noise with presence. We assume activity means connection, but the most profound truths are often spoken in silence. God does not always operate on human timelines. He is not required to validate every step we take. Sometimes He waits, not because He is unsure of us, but because He wants us to become sure of ourselves through Him. A child depends on constant guidance, but maturity is marked by how we act when no one is watching. So when heaven is silent, perhaps it is not God who is distant. It is you who are being elevated to a new level of responsibility. Silence is sacred because it removes dependency on external reassurance. It demands that you awaken your inner compass, that you lean into the spiritual disciplines that sharpen your discernment. When you hear nothing, that is when you must listen deeper. Not with your ears, but with your spirit. This is when meditation, fasting, reflection, and solitude become more than rituals. They become lifelines. The silence tests your ability to recall what you were already told. What did God already speak that you haven't yet obeyed? What instructions were given in past seasons that you have not yet acted on? Sometimes the silence isn't about something new. It's about accountability, for what has already been revealed. The silence then becomes a refining fire, not of punishment, but of preparation. It burns away the need for emotional comfort and replaces it with spiritual conviction. God's silence before the warning is not passive, it is purposeful. The absence of sound is not the absence of power. It is the training of your spirit to recognize that your stability must not depend on volume, but on alignment. Silence will show you whether you truly trust, or if you only obey when the rewards are immediate. Shi Heng Yi teaches that inner strength is measured in solitude. The monk does not train in the noise of the city. He trains in the stillness of the mountain. So must you. You must learn to sit in the divine silence without fear. You must develop eyes that see beyond the natural, ears that hear what is unspoken, and a heart that beats in rhythm with the eternal, even when the heavens do not respond immediately. Before external storms come, your inner foundation must be unshakable. The world will always shift. The skies will darken, the winds will rise, and circumstances will change without warning. But what determines whether you stand or fall in the face of these storms is not what happens outside of you. It is what you have built within. In the teachings of many great masters, including Shi Heng Yi, the message is clear. Train the inside so that the outside does not control you. You do not wait for the rain to begin building shelter. You do not wait for the battle to start sharpening your sword. Preparation is not panic. Preparation is wisdom. It is the understanding that challenges are inevitable, but collapse is optional, depending on the strength of your foundation. Your foundation is made of what you consistently practice in the quiet seasons. It is composed of the thoughts you entertain when no one is watching, the disciplines you maintain when no one is checking, the beliefs you hold when everything else tries to persuade you otherwise. These unseen patterns become the root system beneath your life. And when the storm comes, it is not your outer strength that will be tested first. It is the hidden structure within. Storms have a way of exposing the true condition of your soul. They don't create instability, they reveal it. Just like a building doesn't fall because of the wind alone, it falls because the internal supports were weak. So many people pray for the storm to pass, but few take the time to build the strength to endure it. Shi Heng Yi teaches that storms are not our enemies. They are messengers. They show us where we have neglected growth. They reveal the places within us that are still dependent on comfort, control, or convenience. If your peace is based on external conditions, it will vanish the moment those conditions change. But if your peace is rooted in something deeper, in truth, in discipline, in divine awareness, it cannot be shaken. This kind of inner peace is not soft. It is not passive. It is forged through challenge, through stillness, through surrender and strength working together. A peaceful warrior is not someone who avoids the storm, but someone who stands in it without fear because they know what they have built inside cannot be moved. Inner foundations are not inherited, they are built. Brick by brick, through the repetition of spiritual practice, mental discipline, and emotional maturity. Every morning you rise early to meditate, every time you deny a destructive impulse, every moment you choose faith over fear, you are laying down another stone in your foundation. And just like a temple built on a mountain, the higher it rises, the deeper its roots must go. Many people want to soar high spiritually, but they do not want to dig deep. They want the visibility without the stability. But height without depth is dangerous. The taller the structure, the stronger the foundation must be. God's final warning does not come to destroy, it comes to awaken, and if your foundation is not ready, the shaking will come not as a punishment, but as a purification. It will remove what is weak, so that only what is strong can remain. But that process is only painful for those who built their lives on surface, level truths. For those who have trained in silence, who have walked the inner path, who have embraced the work that no one sees, the storm will be loud, but it will not be lethal. You cannot build an unshakable life on emotion alone. You must build it on principle, on alignment with divine order, on the truth that does not shift when circumstances do. A storm-proof life is a disciplined life, and a disciplined life is one that prepares before the chaos, not during it. Spiritual discipline is not a ritual. It is armor for divine instruction. In a world full of noise and distraction, many people confuse discipline with obligation, thinking it is merely a routine to follow or a tradition to uphold. But true spiritual discipline is far deeper than repeating sacred words or going through habitual motions. It is about equipping the soul for battle, training the heart to remain steadfast, and conditioning the mind to discern between what is truth and what is illusion. Without discipline, even divine instruction can be misunderstood, misused, or completely missed. When the Creator speaks, it is not always with thunder or lightning. Sometimes his instruction arrives like a soft wind, a subtle nudge, a quiet revelation. And if the inner self is not prepared, the message passes by unnoticed. Shi Heng Yi emphasizes that the warrior does not wait until the moment of attack to begin training. Training is the evidence of intention. Discipline is the signal that you are not living on accident, but by conscious design. In spiritual terms, discipline aligns your actions with higher purpose. It clears out the mental clutter so that when divine instruction comes, you are able to receive it fully, interpret it accurately, and act upon it immediately. This is not about religion, this is about readiness. A sword is not made in peace. It is forged in fire, hammered into strength, and kept sharp through constant care. Your spirit is no different. It must be strengthened daily, not for the sake of appearances, but for the unseen battles that come unannounced. There is a reason soldiers train every morning, monks rise before dawn, and wise men guard their time with sacred routines. They understand that chaos does not schedule appointments. It arrives without warning, and when it does, only those who are prepared in spirit can stand without trembling. Discipline is your shield. It is what keeps your focus when temptation tries to blur it. It is what holds your structure when emotion tries to bend it. It is what reminds you who you are when the world tries to make you forget. Without discipline, instruction becomes inspiration without transformation. It may stir your heart for a moment, but it will not change the direction of your life. God does not waste words. Every instruction he gives carries weight, purpose, timing, and consequence. But if your spiritual ear is clogged by laziness, distraction, or disobedience, even the clearest message will sound like confusion. Discipline cleanses your perception. It helps you discern between the noise of your mind and the whisper of your spirit. It gives you the ability to act without delay, to walk without doubt, to trust without visible evidence. Just as the martial artist trains the body to respond before the mind even thinks, spiritual discipline conditions the soul to align with divine flow without resistance. It is not reactive, it is responsive. It does not panic when others do because it has already rehearsed faith under pressure. Many people want clarity, but few are willing to do what it takes to receive it. Clarity is not an accident. It is the byproduct of obedience, consistency, and discipline. When your life is disorderly, divine instructions can be buried beneath the weight of your own chaos. But when your inner world is structured, when your habits are refined, when your priorities reflect your higher calling, divine instruction finds a place to land. It does not have to fight for your attention. It becomes your compass. The more disciplined you are, the more attuned you become to the frequency of higher wisdom. Spiritual discipline opens the inner ear. It sharpens the inner eye. It strengthens the spiritual spine so that even when fear comes knocking, you remain grounded in conviction. It is not for the sake of being rigid, but for the sake of being ready. The deadline is not for fear. It is mercy wrapped in urgency. When God places a boundary of time on an instruction, it is not because he wants to pressure or punish, but because he understands the human tendency to delay transformation. The date is not a threat, it is a grace period. A divine window meant to awaken the sleeping, to stir the stagnant, to alert the distracted that the time to act is not endless. Deadlines are divine alarms that remind us. Life is not infinite on this side of eternity. Every breath is a gift, every moment a door, every season an opportunity. When a warning comes with a date, it carries within it both judgment and compassion. Judgment because it reveals there are consequences to inaction. Compassion because it gives time to respond before those consequences unfold. In Shi Heng Yi's teachings, time is not seen as an enemy but as a teacher. Every tick of the clock is a lesson in presence. The present moment is all we truly have, and when a divine instruction comes with a specific timeline, it is a call to return to the now, to stop projecting into a future that may never arrive, and to stop living in a past that cannot be changed. Time-based warnings are rare because they reflect God's deep care. He doesn't have to warn. He could simply allow outcomes to manifest. But when he sets a time, before July 5th, 2025, it means something is approaching, something that requires inner adjustment, realignment, purification. And the time between now and then is the space he gives for you to prepare, not panic. Fear wants to paralyze, but divine urgency energizes. It calls you not to sit in anxiety, but to rise in discipline. It does not say be afraid, it says be awake. When you know a deadline is approaching, your priorities shift. You stop wasting time on trivial pursuits. You cancel distractions. You break unholy agreements. You sever habits that drain your soul. Suddenly, what truly matters becomes clear. The deadline becomes a filter through which you see your life with sharper focus. It reveals the weight of your decisions, the speed of your distractions, the necessity of your obedience. This divine urgency is not just about what's coming externally. It's about what must change internally. A deadline exposes the gap between who you are and who you are meant to become. It reveals the unfinished assignments, the neglected callings, the ignored convictions. It demands you stop pretending there is always more time, because one day the time will run out, not as punishment, but as the natural end of a window. When the rain begins, it is too late to build the ark. When the doors close, it is too late to run inside. Mercy gives you time. Urgency reminds you not to waste it. Shi Heng Yi reminds us that urgency is not chaos, it is focus. It brings the mind into sharp alignment. It calls the body into stillness. It awakens the spirit from slumber. And when that urgency is divine, it carries the weight of eternity behind it. The soul cannot ignore it without consequences. So when a message comes not only with instruction, but with a date, it is a sacred trust. It means the universe is shifting. It means spiritual currents are aligning. It means something is about to close and something else will open, but only for those who are ready. Deadlines are mercy because they expose what we would otherwise excuse. They press us to finish what we started, to forgive what we've carried, to release what no longer serves, to align with what is eternal. A soul that lives without awareness of time will waste even divine opportunity. But a soul that understands the value of every breath will treat each moment as preparation. When God gives you a date, He's not just giving you time. He's giving you a final chance to become who you were meant to be before what is meant to come arrives without delay. What you do before July 5th will echo in the silence that follows. Every action taken in the present moment leaves an imprint, a vibration, a spiritual consequence that extends far beyond what the eyes can see. Life is not random, and divine timing is never without reason. When a warning is given and a date is spoken, it is not the words alone that carry power, but the choices that follow them. The silence after such a deadline will not be empty. It will be filled with the sound of your preparation or the weight of your procrastination. Not all echoes are audible, but all of them are real. The energy you pour into your spiritual condition today will determine the atmosphere you live in tomorrow. And whether that atmosphere becomes one of peace or pressure depends on the alignment you choose in this final hour of opportunity. In the teachings of Shi Heng Yi, the idea of echo is tied deeply to resonance. When you act from a place of centeredness, your energy vibrates in harmony with the universe, and those waves continue long after the moment has passed. But if you move from confusion, distraction, or fear, the dissonance created also continues. This is why inner clarity before action is essential, because whatever intention lies behind your decisions becomes the frequency that shapes your future. July 5th is not just a date, it is a spiritual boundary. On one side is opportunity, on the other side is outcome, and while the world may not immediately change when the clock strikes midnight, something unseen will shift, something irreversible will begin to unfold. And what you have built by that time will either protect or expose you. Every seed you plant now, whether in thought, speech, or action, will begin to bloom in the days to come. Even when the bloom is invisible, the roots are growing. What you speak to yourself now, whether words of truth or words of deception, will form the beliefs that shape your ability to stand when things begin to shake. The silence that follows July 5th will not mean nothing is happening. It will mean everything is unfolding according to what was already set in motion. Just as the archer releases the arrow and then watches in silence, so too does the soul send out decisions that travel toward unseen outcomes. This is why urgency must meet intention. You are not called to panic, but to prepare with focus. You are not called to sprint randomly, but to walk purposefully. What happens in this short window of time is not small. It is sacred. You are being invited to reorient your entire being, to close the chapters that no longer belong in your story, to open the pages you've avoided out of fear or pride, to walk through the doors that have been waiting for your yes. These actions will echo into the coming season in ways you may not yet understand, but they will be felt. The silence after the deadline will not be passive. It will be the silence of divine order being executed. It will be the silence that follows instruction already given. Heaven will not need to speak again, because the time for hearing will have passed, and the time for revealing will have begun. If you were faithful in the quiet, the silence will bring peace. If you delayed in the noise, the silence may bring clarity through correction. This is not about earning salvation or fearing wrath. It is about positioning yourself rightly under divine timing. The echo of this season will reveal whether your heart was tuned to heaven or to the distractions of the world. Shi Heng Yi teaches that the echo of our preparation determines our peace in the moment of impact. If your spirit is aligned, the silence after July 5th will not shake you. It will stabilize you. If your spirit is fragmented, that same silence may feel like abandonment, though it is not. It is the consequence of misalignment. You must decide now how you want that silence to feel. The energy you embody now is already writing the atmosphere you will live in later. The echo will not lie. It will not flatter. It will not adjust. It will only reflect what you offered to this divine moment while the door of mercy was still open.